As usual, when it gets to Friday afternoon and I'm coming in to this centre to give the evening talk, I have to make that decision of what I'm going to talk about. And this evening I've made the decision of giving a talk on the subject of decisions. And because also I had to go to Bunnings this afternoon, because monks don't usually go shopping except for hardware things. We're building our retreat centre down at Serpentine, and the builder asked me to choose the colours for the cottages where people will be staying. So now I have to make this terrible decision. What colour would it be? And I thought it'd make it easy to make a decision, until I got the colour catalogue. And there's so many colours on there. I never believed such colours existed. And also the names on these colours. You know, colours with the names like dynamite. Or the stupid colour nutter. There's so many colours on there. And I realised what it must be like for you guys, having to go shopping every day. And there's so much choice on there. It must drive you crazy. So tonight I'm going to give a talk on decisions. And it's maybe just not just ordinary decisions about what colour you're going to paint the walls. Because it doesn't really matter, does it, in a retreat centre? Because people have got their eyes closed most of the time. So they don't even notice it. And even if it is a bad colour, I can always give out sunglasses. But whatever happens, we have to from time to time make decisions, sometimes small decisions, sometimes big decisions. And people really can stress out on the decisions they have to make in life, because they don't know how to make decisions. And so today we're going to have a talk on decisions, what they are and how to make them. How simple it is. One of the important things about making decisions, which I've learnt in my life, is that they're not all that important anyway. Many of the decisions which I fretted over, which I lost sleep over as a young man, I found now are completely irrelevant to the course of my life. All those decisions about what university I should go to, what should I study, the decisions to go out with this girl or with that girl as a young man, what a waste of time that was. There's always, if you knew what's going to happen to you in life, you wouldn't have to worry. If I'd have known that I was going to be a monk, of course I wouldn't need to worry about such things. But it's the same with you. Anyway, the one thing you know is going to happen to you, you're going to die. So what's the point of worrying about all these decisions? But one important thing which I remember, which I teach a lot of people these days, is, you know, there's no such thing as a right decision or a wrong decision, or a good or bad decision. And I think because that's the one thing which really makes it hard for you to decide and make your selection. Because when there's an idea of a right decision and a wrong decision, it makes huge pressure on us to make sure we don't stuff up again and make a mistake, and we have to make the right decision. But remember, all those decisions you've made in life so far, really there's no such thing as good or bad. They're just like different outcomes. It's very similar to the way you came here this evening. I'm not quite sure what your preferred route is to get to this centre on a Friday evening. There's many alternative routes. Sure that some are longer, some are shorter, some are prettier, some are not so pretty. But none of them is right or wrong. It's just a different way of getting there. And for me, I always find that most of the decisions I make in life, it doesn't matter what that decision actually is, you can always make use of it afterwards to get to where you want to go. So understanding that whatever decision you go for, it's not either a wonderful decision or a wrong decision, it's just a decision, that's all. It just gives you a different thing to work with in life. And understanding that whatever decisions you make, you can always make it work. You can always do something with it. means it took away all the fear of making decisions. You never got paralyzed by choice. You never thought, oh my goodness, I'm going to have to make a choice. It's going to be a life and death decision. Even that idea of life and death decisions, which people tend to sort of amplify the importance of what they're deciding out of all proportions. And I suppose that is the biggest thing, life and death decisions. But we're Buddhists. Buddhists don't have life and death decisions. You make a mistake and you die, you come back again afterwards. So it's not the end of the world when you die. That's one of the nice things about being a Buddhist. You get another chance afterwards. You get many chances. So it's not sort of so imperative if you make mistakes. You can always make something, do something with what you've got. Which takes away one of the most important pains and difficulties of decision making, like the fear of making a mistake and the fear that you are somehow going to lose your pride, lose your credibility, be a fool, make an idiot of yourself. It's wonderful actually not worrying what other people think of you. And realizing whatever decision you make, you're not a fool, you just made a decision, that's all. Give it a try, see what happens, and you can always move on from it. That way that when there's no fear attached to decision making, because there's not this terrible blame and guilt, it makes it so easy to make decisions. You just make it and see what happens, knowing you can always make something out of whatever decision you made. So if I choose a yellow colour or a brown colour, you always do something with whatever paint you choose. It's only paint and that's all. You ever notice that these decisions which people really worry about, and you think, my goodness, what sort of clothes should I wear this evening? Big deal. No one is worrying about what you're wearing, only you. So when you don't worry so much about your decisions, you don't make it such a big thing because you're not into some sort of guilt or ego trip about whether you're right or wrong, because there's no right or wrong decisions. Decisions are much easier and far less stressful. When you go back to why it's so difficult for people to make decisions, it comes back to our conditioning. When you're very, very young, you get blamed and punished if you make wrong decisions. And I know from my own experience, and I couldn't understand what it was. I just made a decision, I made a mistake, so what, why punish me? And I'm a human being. I'd got it wrong, big deal. I'll try better next time. But because that punishment came involved with my decision making, and I was actually forced to feel that I'd made a wrong decision or a wrong choice, what that happened was that paralysed or really affected my ability to make decisions. As if I'd done something terribly, terribly wrong and evil if I chose the wrong path. And one of the nice things which I learned as a Buddhist, that there is no punishment. The idea of punishing yourself, which is guilt, or punishing someone else, which is anger and revenge, never ever made sense to me as a young man, but it was almost forced on me by the culture in which I grew up with. If someone else makes a mistake, in other words, they made a wrong choice in life, they're supposed to be punished. Does that really help? And if they made a wrong choice in life, they've done something wrong. If it is wrong, I'm not quite sure if I understand what that really means. They just made a decision and it caused a bit of suffering. Please learn from that. Don't add to the suffering by adding some punishment or some penance on top of it. And we learn from it and we move on from it. We grow from it. Instead of punishment, just actually makes the problem worse. And it also makes people more afraid to make decisions in life. So because of punishment was always associated with so-called wrong decision making, I got afraid to make choices, like many of you do. But instead, when we make a choice, if we just consider that whatever the outcome is, there's no punishment involved, there's no reward involved, we've made a decision, now let's see what to do next with it. And that way, whatever happens, you can always make something out of it. which is the lesson which I've learnt in life. If I build a monastery this way, build a monastery that way, if I had to give a talk on this or give a talk on that, doesn't matter where you start out from, it's how you develop the situation which you've made for yourself. And you do find that the law of karma means that life is always evolving, you can always do something with what you've got. There's no such thing as a mistake in life. How many of you have sometimes made a choice and you think, wow, that was a big mistake? But later on, after a month, a year, a couple of years, you realise that was the best thing which ever happened to you. And it really made a great difference in your life. And how many of you have done something you thought was really great and great success and realised that really wrecked your whole life? Sometimes that we can't tell whether a choice is going to work out well or not. But what we can do, we can make it work out well. Because in life it's not so much what you choose, whether it's to have a yellow paint or a brown paint, whether to marry this guy or marry that guy. As I've told you many, many times, and I do lots and lots of marriage counselling. If you think you've married the wrong guy, what do you mean the wrong guy? They're all the same. Believe me. So it's not, no such thing as the right guy and the wrong guy. Or the right girl or the wrong girl. And you realise they're all the same anyway, so you marry this person, make it work. Make it work. No, sometimes that happens. There's still some societies where you have arranged marriages. And it's amazing, I think that the statistics have shown that arranged marriages, and where you choose for yourself, they've got the same rate of success. So just because you choose doesn't mean it's more likely to work out. When someone else chooses, sometimes that's just as likely to work out or go wrong. So it might be just have like a lottery, just sort of choose a number, and the one who got the same number of you, that's who you get married to and live with for the rest of your life. Could you do that? Sometimes when we make these choices, okay, we are going to make these choices, but when we make the choices, just make them quickly and learn how to live with them. Make something out of it. And you find that way, you've done that before, it actually does work. And you actually find that means that you're never so afraid of making choices. Whichever way you move, left or right, it's never the end of the world. It's not so important. It just gives you different options to work with in life. A different path. And you can never say that one path is better than the other. It's just different, that's all. Which is why when I was reading how the Buddha sort of described decision making, he always said that there are 4 things you should always concern yourself about before you make a decision. To check whether you're not acting out of these 4 things, and those 4 things, not acting out of personal desire, what's in it for you? Not acting out of ill will or revenge. I gave a talk at Christ Church Grammar School on Tuesday, and I sort of gave one of my favourite sayings about there's no need to have ill will, especially no need for revenge. If you're a Christian, because it's a Christian school, if someone has done something wrong and hurt you, cheated you, mistreated you, abused you, and if you're a Christian, God will sort that out. You don't need to worry about it at all. Just pass the buck to God. Now He'll sort it out. And if you're a Muslim, it's Allah's job. If you're a Jew, Jehovah. And if you're a Buddhist, we don't believe in God. So what happens with a Buddha, with a Buddhist? You say you don't have to seek revenge because karma will get the bastard anyway. Please excuse the language, but when I say it like that, you remember it. It's just a